Good afternoon. I am Mark Levine, and I'm proud to represent the communities of Southern Sonoma and Marin counties in the State Assembly. Thank you for joining us. Today, we will be discussing an important topic that can affect many of us, fraudulent activity. First, I'd like to share with you about my office's use of virtual town halls, which began after the stay-at-home order in March 2020. These town halls have reached thousands on our website, YouTube, and Facebook pages. Of all the pandemic experiences, we've realized that technology provides great access to programming, information, and real-time interaction. Notably, this also means that during a very challenging period for public health, it is a very safe means to engage and collaborate while keeping members of the public and my hardworking staff both physically and mentally safe and healthy. We are always available to serve you, and I'd like to personally express my gratitude to my staff who have stepped up in extraordinary ways to help people in great need during the pandemic, particularly as emergency staff to the Employment Development Department, which was inundated with calls and applications over the past 15 months. There is light at the end of the tunnel, but we are still in the midst of a devastating pandemic. Thank you for your understanding of how we will respect this threat to health and the needs of our constituents. And now, for the issue at hand, fraud. Identity theft is an increasingly common crime. By the time you realize you're a victim, the predator has already caused stress, worry, wreaked havoc by ruining your credit score or worse. The purpose of this town hall is to spread awareness and advice on how to minimize your risk of becoming an identity theft victim, ideas for keeping your personal information secure, and how to repair the damage in the event that you are the target of scammers. Today, I will be joined by the California State Department of Insurance Compliance Officer, Sally Kim Westlake, who will speak about her specialty in insurance and from a broad standpoint of fraudulent activities. Kevin Duraway with the Contractor State License Board will be sharing his knowledge about fraudulent activity in the construction sector. This is a relevant topic in the North Bay with so many homeowners rebuilding after devastating wildfires, as well as many who are making improvements to their homes to protect it from another natural disaster. Our third panelist is Mark Vanderskoff, the County of Marin Public Guardian. We'll learn about the county's FAST program, that stands for Financial Abuse Specialist Team, and what they are doing to help the public. If you'd like to submit a question, please send an email to assemblymember.levine@assembly.ca.gov, assemblymember.levine@assembly.ca.gov. If you are joining us on Facebook or YouTube, you can also ask your question in the comments section, and I promise we'll try to get to all of them. We're really fortunate to have these panelists. I want to just say welcome to everyone. Let's start with you. Briefly, can you please talk about what your agency does to lessen the impact of fraudulent activity around insurance?
Good afternoon, Assembly member. Thank you so much for this opportunity to join me today, talking about this very important topic of insurance fraud prevention. First off, California Department of Insurance, what we do, we actually regulate the insurance marketplace. A lot of people hear the word insurance and the first thing I get is, can you give me a quote? Or what's the best insurance company? Well, the Department of Insurance is a state agency that regulates the insurance marketplace. We regulate the insurance company, agents, and brokers that sell insurance. We do not actually sell any lines of insurance, but we regulate also all the lines of insurance, including homeowners, auto, life insurance, annuities, and more. We are actually led by our elected insurance commissioner, Ricardo Lara, and all of CDI's functions, ensure solvency, conducting market conduct, resolving consumer complaints, investigating and prosecuting insurance fraud are to protect consumers. The reason being, California is the largest insurance market in the United States. We are the fourth largest in the world, and insurance companies collect over $340 billion in premiums every year. That's what you and I pay in insurance premiums. That's why it's important to have this regulation in place. And as a consumer, if you ever have a problem, question about your current insurance policy, or you're shopping for insurance, please call our consumer hotline number at 1-800-927-4357, or visit us on our website at insurance.ca.gov.
That was a great introduction because your office does so much. Can you tell us a little bit about What kind of scams are out there? What are people falling prey to?
Well, unfortunately, is an increasing number of seniors, as we know. By the year 2030, baby boomers are all going to be at 65 and older. And last year, I think the reported number was about $3 billion in scams perpetrated against seniors. Why? Well, seniors have accumulated wealth. They have money in their homes. They have savings. They have retirement monies. And tend to be polite, have time on their hands. So they like to converse with strangers potentially. And then sometimes seniors, unfortunately, do not have other family members watching over them. So seniors tend to prey to these large scams, to these scammers. And basically, the scammers are trying to steal money from you, right? That's what they're doing. The scammers are trying to take a piece of your pie, your money, your hard-earned money, savings accounts, and your information. They want to steal your information so that they could potentially steal money down the line. So when it comes to insurance scams, one of the most popular insurance scams, most prevalent out there, are the resale and sale of annuities to inappropriately. So annuity sales, churning and twisting. Reason being, annuities give insurance agents large upfront commissions. So annuities are great for some and lousy for others. Reason being, annuities is an insurance contract sold by an insurance agent. It should be used as an investment vehicle, but that's not how it's being sold sometimes. Seniors are targeted, and if they have a current existing annuity, an insurance agent contacts them and says, hey, I can get you a better rate than what you're currently getting. I can make you more money. And the senior has time, starts talking to them, and signs over their annuity and gets sold another annuity. What they don't realize is that that annuity can lock up their money for potentially 7 to 10 years. So if this is all the money they have, their savings, okay, they can't have access to their money without hefty penalties. So you should never buy an annuity if this is your emergency cash or emergency savings. You should definitely look up the agent's license number, broker license number, insurance company information that's available on our website, just so that you do your due diligence. And when it comes to insurance policies, you should never sign anything that's not filled out. Do not sign blank documents. Don't be rushed when the insurance agent says, oh, you know what, these rates are great. You know, you need to move on this. You know, it's only guaranteed for the next 5 days. I need you to sign right here. And then it's got all these blank forms, blank lines, and, oh, don't worry, I'll fill it in later. Let's just get you, go ahead and, sign this. We can process it right away. No, because unfortunately, there are some bad apples out there in every industry. Same with insurance agents. There's some out there that just want to make the commissions and or steal your money, and so they can fill out, okay, those blank lines with their information. There's also agents that steal premiums. Do not ever give an agent cash, okay, when it comes to buying a new policy. Make sure you only give them a check, and make sure the check is made payable to the insurance agency or the insurance company. That's very important to note, because unfortunately, like I said, some bad agents out there that are just taking advantage of people. And it happens also within our community. So it can happen with, people that you may be familiar with, people in your church. Unfortunately, greed gets the best of them. So you have to protect yourself. You have to do what's right for you. So don't ever feel rushed when it comes to filling out forms, signing contracts. And there's also something called a Senior Insurance Bill of Rights. More information and detail can be found on our website. But basically, seniors have more rights when it comes to insurance. So you can rescind your life insurance or annuity contract if you felt uncomfortable and you don't agree with the sale. Even after you sent in the premium and signed a contract, you have 30 days to rescind that contract. So again, seniors have more rights when it comes to insurance. You should know what they are, and you can find that information also available on our website. I have more.
Yeah, that was just really scary for me to hear a little bit about that, because, when we think about licensed agents, selling legal products,
Yes.
that it could be an unscrupulous person who is selling something that maybe isn't the strongest product for the client, but is the best one as far as the financial windfall for the selling agent. And so that really does occur. How do people really understand that product marketplace? If we go to the store or we shop online, we can see the difference in prices. It's a little bit different because we don't really all understand the marketplace for annuities. It's a different type of product for so many of us.
Yes. So, and insurance overall is a very confusing topic and a boring topic. I get it. I understand you. I don't want to read through all the documents, all the fine print, but any insurance policy that you purchase, you want to make sure you're doing business, first of all, with somebody you trust, that you feel that the agent has your best interest in mind. So specifically when it comes to annuities, you want to do your research. We have a brochure specifically for seniors called Annuities, Everything You Need to Know, available on our website. You can read up on it, or we can send you a copy for free. But annuities, again, it's right for some, lousy for others. If you're getting an insurance agent or a financial advisor from your bank that calls you, and because you had a CD that came due at your bank, right? And what B of A, I'm using as an example, has a financial advisor. So when your CD becomes due, they automatically notify the financial advisor. So you get kind of a warm call from them until you get Joe Smith that calls you and say, "Oh, hi, Mrs. Smith. My name is Joe and I'm calling from B of A. We noticed that your CD came due." Okay, we understand you want to make more than 1% on your CD. So I have this great product, this annuity product that can guarantee you 5, 7, or variable annuity that can earn as much as 12% in a year. We think this would be great for you. That right there should be a red flag, because annuity is a financial product, okay, as an insurance contract, but that agent that's warm calling you, all they know is that you had money in the bank. That's all they know. They do not know anything about your risk tolerance. They don't know what your financial goals are. They don't know if that $25,000, $50,000 CD is your emergency money and that that's all you have. And that should not be monies that should be tied up for 7 years or 10 years into an annuity. Because if you have a medical emergency, your car breaks down, something happens, your money is tied up and you're locked into it. So you have to do business with people you trust.
Yeah, this isn't really fraud or scam related, but it is insurance related because of where we live in the North Bay. Concern about the availability of home insurance products and how that many people have been denied or have had increases. You mentioned a phone number and a website earlier. What are some things that people can do if they're are struggling with making sure that their home is insured, whether they live in a wildfire area or just somewhere else in the community, but for some reason they're being denied or having their rates increased?
Okay, so homeowners insurance non-renewal is very prevalent, especially in the wildfire areas. There is protection if you live in a area where there was a current wildfire and it was a declared a state emergency. You have a 1-year moratorium of your policy being canceled or non-renewed. First of all, your homeowner's policy or any policy cannot be canceled without, the only time it can be canceled is if it's non-payment of premiums. Other than that, it can be non-renewed at the end of the policy term, which is on homeowners policy is usually a year. If you get a non-renewal notice, time is not on your side. You have to start looking for other options. That means if one insurance company in your area, for whatever reason, decides that you are high risk, that you live in a high risk zip code or area due to wildfire especially, first thing you need to do is call your insurance company and ask them, what can I do, okay, to maintain my current policy? That's the easiest way and the simplest way and the cheapest way is to call your current insurance company. There have been cases, it is few, but there are cases that if you've had a long-standing relationship with that insurance company, and I hear from people all the time that I've been with the same insurance company for 20 years, never filed a claim. So if you're with an insurance company for a long term, call them up and say, hey, what can I do to maintain my policy? Do you, maybe they saw something, maybe they want you to do some repairs on your roof. Maybe they saw that you had certain type of trees too close to your home. Is it clearance? What can you do to maintain your policy? That's number one. If you can't get your insurance company to maintain that policy for another year to renew, then you're going to have to start shopping around. We have shopping tips and tools available on our website, what you need to do. But again, time is not on your side because you're going to have anywhere from 60 to 90 days to find a new policy. Again, if one insurance company is non-renewing you, some others may not write your policy as well. What you want to do is contact your agent and then contact a broker. If your agent says, I'm sorry, we're pulling out of the market, okay, you want to find a broker. And you can look up brokers' license numbers, everything on our website. We've had people, what happens is in one neighborhood, if one insurance company is pulling out, not writing policies in a certain market, then one broker in your local area is going to get inundated with calls, right? And so that broker is working with, let's say, a handful of insurance companies. And so they're going to be limited. So then what you might want to do is widen your search. Find brokers outside of your area. Find brokers in Southern California and get a quote and see if they can help you find policies.
That's really fascinating to think about calling a broker that's not even in the region. Perhaps they have some options that local ones don't know. And for those that are viewing this, the website is insurance.ca.gov.
Yes.
Sally, thank you so much. We stick around. We'll have some questions after all of the panelists, and we'll move. Well, again, thank you so much. That was so informative. Now I'd like to bring Kevin Duraway to be a part of this. Kevin, thank you again for joining. As you know, the North Bay has been hit with wildfires and floods the past few years, and to this day, our community is still rebuilding and fearful of the fire season to come. The rebuilding process has been slow for many due to increasing costs, labor shortage, low supply of raw materials, and then of course the COVID-19 pandemic. How does someone looking for a contractor ensure that the company they're contacting is legitimate, can actually complete the job?
That's a great question. And part of Contractor State License Board, or cslb.ca.gov, is our website. So we do license contractors and regulate the state's construction industry, but it's very important to remember that we are a consumer protection organization first, okay? We were established in 1929, and we licensed about 290,000 contractors across the state in 44 different classifications. That's stuff like concrete, plumbing, fencing. There's different classifications that contractors are licensed for. It's important to realize that the rebuilding process is not an easy one. It's not a fast one. I understand that if you're a disaster survivor, there's a great need to feel whole again. And part of that is rebuilding your home. That can be so detrimental to a family when you lose your home where you spent your entire life and you're starting the rebuilding process. But one thing you should know is that scammers and unscrupulous and unlicensed contractors, they realize this. They realize you're rushing to try to get the repairs done, and they're going to try to take advantage of that and take advantage of you. So what's important to know is if you want to contact CSLB, you can call us at 1-800-321-CSLB. That's 2752. You can also email us whenever you need to, info@cslb.ca.gov. When you're going to work with any kind of contractor, you want to make sure they're licensed. In California, if the job is over $500, the contractor is supposed to be licensed. Obviously, a rebuilding project in a disaster, they're going to have to be licensed. So what you can do is you can go to our website and do what's called a license check. You click a little button on our homepage, and you can put in the contractor's license number. You can also search by their name or their business name. And right there, it'll bring up an individual web page for them, which will show whether or not their license is active and in good standing, which you want. It will also show if there's any disclosable complaints on their license. Then there's another thing that's also extremely important that's on this page. It'll show whether or not the contractor is holding workers' compensation insurance. If they have any kind of workers that are coming to the job site, they need to be holding workers' compensation insurance. The reason for that is if they don't have workers' comp, and for whatever reason, one of their workers gets injured during the job, you as your homeowner could be held liable for the worker's injuries. So it's very important to check the workers' compensation status on that page. Other reminders for disaster survivors, We do have a disaster help center on our website with a really helpful, well-done video called Rebuilding After a Disaster. When there is also an active disaster, we have a disaster hotline that will open that is on our website. What I really encourage disaster survivors to remember is that you are not alone. It can feel like you are not alone, and there are a lot of agencies that are on the local and state level that are designed to help you, and CSLB is one of those agencies. So when you're hiring a contractor, I already mentioned you can check the license number on our website. When you're meeting the contractor as well, ask to see their pocket ID card. It's a little laminated card. It's going to look like about the size of a credit card. It'll have their license number on there. Compare that name on the ID card with a picture ID. That way you can tell that the contractor is who it says they are, and they're not stealing the license number from somebody else. We encourage contractors, and we ask contractors to make sure their license numbers are on their vehicles, on their contracts, on their shirts even, on their business cards, so people can steal, other contractors who are unlicensed will steal these numbers. So it's important to make sure that you are working with who says they are, and they are in fact licensed. So for the real reason why you want to hire a licensed contractor, it's greater consumer protection for you. It may come off that you're saving some money right up front by hiring someone who's unlicensed, but down the line, that can really come back to hurt you, because what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to pay to get a licensed contractor to come back in and do the job correctly, or you may pay the unlicensed contractor and they may not complete the work. Then you're going to have to pay again and have a licensed contractor come back and repair the work, do it the right way. You also get more consumer protection when you hire a licensed contractor by using our options here at CSLB. We can help with the negotiation, mediation, and arbitration when you're dealing with a contractor, you're having problems with a licensed contractor. These are all services that are free to consumers. Again, you never want to rush into repairs when you're rebuilding after a disaster. I know it's easier said than done. I know that the emotional toll is great and you want to feel complete, but you don't want to work with the first contractor that comes along. You want to get at least 3 bids, okay? You want to get at least 3 bids. That gives you an idea of the price of the market, your price range, okay? You also want to try to check the references of each contractor. Try to get references of their past work. Are you able to call these people, these references, and verify their work? Can you verify the work with your own eyes? The reason we ask you to try to do that with your own eyes is because nowadays, unlicensed contractors in particular, they can post ads, online ads, and they can do a Google image search of beautiful concrete work, and they can put that all in their ad. You don't know if that's really their work. You know, you can just get those images off the internet. It's good to see the work with your own eyes and talk to other consumers who have worked with these contractors. Some other things to keep in mind when you're building after a disaster, you never want to sign over any kind of checks that you receive from your insurance company to your contractor. Money is your leverage when you work with a contractor, whether they're licensed or unlicensed. That's something to keep in mind. You also have to remember when you're rebuilding in a disaster area, you want to be working with your local building department, and you want to determine the proper procedure for the rebuilding and the debris cleanup. We saw this a lot in Butte County after the Camp Fire. The debris cleanup, that was a very long process that's still going on. So you want to be working with your county building department. You want to make sure that your contractor is pulling the permits for the job, okay? If the contractor is asking you to pull the permits, that's usually a big red flag. The reason a contractor might ask you to pull the permits is that these building departments have been asked by CSLB to check contractor license numbers. So they're also checking to make sure these contractors are licensed and their license is active and in good standing with us. So if they're asking you to pull the permits, that's usually a red flag. They may not be licensed, or they may want to be trying to avoid some other kind of problems. I already mentioned workers' compensation insurance. I'll mention it again. Make sure they have workers' compensation insurance. When you're working with a contractor and you're getting a contract put together, okay? I'm not talking about an estimate. I'm talking about the contract. When you're getting down to the nitty-gritty and you're thinking you're going to go with this contractor, you want to make sure your contract is in writing with the contractor. You want the contract to be as specific as possible. If you want that, $500 marble, tabletop work in the kitchen, make sure it says that in the contract. That way it's easier down the line to help with problems that may come up is written in the contract. Any kind of changes that are made in the contract, this happens a lot in disaster areas when you're involving the cost of materials, okay? For instance, in the pandemic, we saw the cost of lumber go up. Now it's going down a little bit, but still very high, the cost of lumber going up. So when there's a change like that, you want it in writing in what's called a change order. So that'll be a change on the contract, and that's supposed to be something that's initialed and signed by you and your contractor, okay? You want to keep that in writing as well. That way there's no surprises and you're not getting a huge bill at the end, and all your material costs have all of a sudden doubled. And it's not like sticker shock, you know? You want to stick to the agreed upon price, which is easier said than done in a disaster area. Another thing that's really important in the contract is you want to stick to what's called a payment schedule, okay? Remember how I mentioned money is your best leverage when you're working with a contractor? You never want to let your payments get ahead of the work. So a payment schedule, I'm only going to give you half of the money when half of the project is done, okay? And with that same token, you never want to hand over the final payment until the job is completed to your liking, okay? Another thing involving down payment is extremely important, and this is something that is one of the biggest consumer problems. It impacts disaster survivors, it impacts seniors, it impacts many consumers. If a contractor wants a down payment, remember the down payment can't be more than 10% or $1,000, whatever's less, okay? One of the biggest problems is paying too much money up front, and then the unlicensed contractor will leave with your money, leaving an unfinished job or poor work. That's something really important to remember. Some other things you should remember during the work project is you want to be getting something called lien releases throughout your project. You want to know which subcontractors and suppliers your contractor is working with. It's really helpful if that's included on the written contract. You want to make sure that lien releases are signed by these suppliers and subcontractors. Lien release forms are available on our website. Again, I mentioned making sure your contract is as specific as possible. You also want to create what's called a project file. It can be just a manila folder, it can be a pocket folder. Keep all your stuff in there when you're working with this contractor. Maybe a copy of the contract, copies of your checks that you're paying the contractor, signed payment orders, the lien release forms that I just mentioned, photos of the project, okay? And again, don't make the final payment to your contractor until you have the written approval from the building department and you're satisfied from the work. So what can you do if you think you've been scammed? I get this question a lot. Call CSLB right away to try to get a complaint form sent to you, 1-800-321-CSLB or 2752. You can also go to our website, cslb.ca.gov, and click File Complaint. For seniors, you have 4 years from the date of construction to file a complaint. Seniors also, you should know this, there's new consumer protection for seniors that went into law this year. Seniors now have a 5-day right to cancel a contract. That protects you from solicitors or door-to-door salesman type contractors. But the biggest reminder I want you to take away from today, please remember the down payment must be no more than 10% or $1,000, whatever's less, okay? And don't let the payments get ahead of the work.
Are we all set, Kevin?
Yeah, I believe that's it. I just kept going.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it was great. You asked yourself some of the questions that I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
Particularly, one, you said something and you repeated it, which was great, which is money is your leverage. And I think so many people are concerned, once they've been scammed, how do I ever get that money back? Particularly if they're unlicensed, what is the leverage that CSLB has and others? Can you talk a little bit about what that process is like?
Well, I don't work in intake mediation department, but I know what they do is they will reach out to the contractor. It's obviously a lot easier when the contractor is licensed with CSLB because we have some power over them. We're regulating them. But it's very difficult to recover money, especially when it's handed over to an unlicensed contractor, especially when it's not in the form of a check.
Yeah.
Again, you never want to pay in cash. You never want to pay in gift cards. similar things you've heard about other scams. But you want to check, and you want to keep a copy of that check so you have proof of payment. You also want to make sure that the subcontractors and the suppliers are getting paid as well. You want to make sure those lien releases are signed, so they can't file a property lien and come after your property, because the contractor doesn't pay the subcontractor or suppliers. But yeah, we can come in, and what we'll usually do is we'll reach out to the contractor. We'll try to mediate with them. We'll try to come to an understanding to try to get your money back. And that's way easier when it's a licensed contractor. Unlicensed contractor, it can be very difficult to even locate them.
When it's the state, suddenly they sit up a little straighter and pay attention. It's not just a disgruntled client,
right,
from their perspective.
Right.
You mentioned payment and not using cash for alternatives, but there are new ways of paying people. Zelle through a bank, or Venmo, even PayPal. Are there any pitfalls of using those types of payment mechanisms?
I would completely avoid using electronic payment systems like Apple Pay or Venmo or PayPal, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
And just, some people may not even carry a checkbook nowadays. You may need to go in your drawer and dig it out. Where is my checkbook anyway? Do I even have any checks left? But unfortunately, it's one way it's a surefire way to protect you, especially when you're going to be dealing with such a large purchase such as this, whether it's a rebuilding project or home improvement project.
All right. Well,
I would encourage you to stick with the check.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks very much for joining the panel and that really useful information. And stick around we'll have a little Q&A after, and you may be helpful in that as well. All right, thanks, Kevin. So next we've got, you're welcome. We've got Mark Vanderskoff from the County of Marin, who's joining us. And as I mentioned earlier, he's the County of Marin Public Guardian. Tell me a little bit about that, Mark. I don't know if a lot of communities realize that there's a public guardian out there. What do you do? Tell us about it. You're on mute.
There we go. That's better.
Yeah.
So every county in Marin does have an appointed public guardian. The public guardian functions as the court-appointed conservator to handle the financial and personal affairs of people who have been deemed unable to do so due to things like mental illness, cognitive decline. So it's a court process by which we are appointed. The public guardian is always the last in line to be appointed. We always look for family members or friends that can help out in these situations, or see if there's a deputy power of attorney that could be used instead of a conservatorship, because conservatorship does take people's rights away, and that's something that you would want to do only in very extreme cases.
And is that, you said a deputy power of attorney. So if someone has already lost their ability to make decisions for themselves, and someone wants to be a power of attorney, but that individual who needs that assistance isn't able to sign a power of attorney, how do you deal with that? Does the court then step in to observe that power of attorney transfer?
Well, there are two kinds of powers of attorney. The best way to handle this, which I would advise people to do, is before you get incapacitated, is to draft a power of attorney. There are two different kinds. One is called a springing power of attorney, which comes into effect when you're incapacitated and you need to get two doctors to sign off on the fact that you are incapacitated. And then that person that you have named, when you're of sound mind, is going to be, taking care of your affairs. Another way to do a power of attorney, you can just appoint someone else and they can, take over right away. Some people prefer to do that. So if that hasn't been done, yes, it can get tricky if somebody doesn't have that ability to do it anymore. It might get referred to our office. It might get referred to the court. People can go to lawyers to see if there's a situation in which they could be successful, because you don't need, the important takeaway is you don't need a conservatorship to do a power of attorney.
And so I think I misheard you. I think I misheard and thought you had said deputy, but you had said durable power of attorney earlier.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. That confused me a little bit. Great. And so how for Marin County residents who are victims of fraud, what are the services and resources that you offer?
So I also chair the Marin County Financial Abuse Specialist Team. So we are a local team dedicated to serving the residents of Marin. We have, our mission is to educate the public about scams that are out there, some of which have been covered today, in a way to prevent scams from occurring in the future. We also perform accountings, forensic accountings, if a case has unfortunately occurred where someone has been taken advantage of. The team can do an accounting and track and see where that money went, and hopefully help assist in the prosecution of that case. The team is made up of county employees from Health and Human Services. We partner with the Marin County District Attorney, with local law enforcement agencies, Legal Aid of Marin, and Adult Protective Services. The team also has a volunteer component, which is very unique. We have 20 volunteers from the community who dedicate their time to stamping out financial older adult abuse. These people have backgrounds in law, banking, accounting, and similar disciplines. They share an understanding of how to read financial documents, and they share a passion for trying to prevent people from being taken advantage of. So this model, of a community-based volunteer organization working with the county is very successful. We were actually copied by Sonoma County, which is great. This format can be replicated by other counties. So Sonoma County now has a FAST team that's modeled after ours. And the team in 2019 was given one of 48 Aging Innovation and Achievement Awards by the National Association of Area Agencies on Aging for a cutting edge approach to helping prevent financial abuse.
And we heard a lot, and Sally mentioned earlier about seniors with a little bit of extra time, talking in great length with people on the phone. And I think that when you may be isolated, and particularly during the pandemic, a lot of us have felt that way. And you have a phone call from someone that's willing to spend some time with you on the phone, and you develop a little bit of a rapport, even in what may seem like a short time, but for a phone call, for people that haven't had a long phone call for a while, may make people feel comfortable divulging information that they shouldn't otherwise be divulging because of that rapport that quickly gets built. How do we deal with that? Is it possible to, obviously we're trying to warn the community about these things. What are the efforts that we're able to take?
Well, we are trying to warn the community about these things. And I just want to add a little bit about that.
Thank you.
Marin, this is a particular problem because right now, 28% of our population is over the age of 60, which is the federal definition for older adult. By 2030, 33% of our population will be over the age of 60. As you pointed out, as people age, sometimes they lose their social support networks, they get isolated. And exactly, if they get a phone call, they're going to be talking to that person and they're going to want to give out their social security number or their Medicare number. So this is a problem. Adult Protective Services, which investigates cases of abuse in Marin, took about 2,000 calls in 2020.
Wow.
And 30% of those had an allegation of financial abuse. So financial abuse was actually the top allegation of abuse in Marin, even above health and safety for people. So this problem cuts across socioeconomic lines. The team has cases where Social Security benefits have been stolen, as well as cases of more wealthy individuals whose banking accounts and savings accounts have been compromised. So it is a special problem here. And one of the ways we try and combat that, as I said, is we have a community education piece. We have a PowerPoint presentation that we've put together. The team's been in existence for about 10 years. And we go out to, well, right now we're doing it virtually, of course, but we're looking forward to going back out into the community. And we educate the community on, don't give out your social security number, don't hire a caregiver from Craigslist. Do make sure that your contractor is licensed. We give a lot of practical tips. We have a lot of resources packed into the PowerPoint. And the idea is the more we can reach older adults and or their caregivers and or anyone who has older adults in their circle to make them aware of these issues, the better. So we urge people, if you do have an older adult in your circle and you notice that they're behaving differently or they're getting secretive about their finances in a way that they weren't before, we do encourage people to talk with their family member or friend. We also encourage people to call Adult Protective Services if they feel that the situation is getting out of hand, and Adult Protective Services could investigate and do a confidential investigation of the situation.
Yeah, I think people find themselves to be private about a lot of this type of information in general. So when they slip up, there's a lot of shame in it. And so they're afraid to share with people that occurred to them. And that, of course, limits their ability for recourse and recovery. Are there any tools or programs that we have for reaching out to people in that condition of understanding that being a victim of this isn't a shameful thing, that a crime was perpetrated on them, and that there are resources not just to help, but to help from the mental health perspective of all of it too?
Yes, there recently have been efforts made to have like survivors groups of financial abuse to do exactly the kind of thing you're talking about, to take the stigma out of it, to maybe talk to other people who are at risk of being taken advantage of. Because as you say, it's a hugely underreported issue. There have been studies that it's either 1 in 5, maybe just 1 in 5 has been reported. It's a very expensive problem that the state and the nation is facing right now, and the fact that it's underreported makes it worse. So that is an area that we want to go in further, is to beef up these survivor networks and get the word out, because people are afraid to disclose to their family members. They don't want their family member thinking, oh, you're losing control, so therefore I'm going to have to take over.
Yeah. And is there a website about FAST or anything that we could share?
You can go to the Aging and Adult website for the County of Marin, and FAST is there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if any of you are able to answer this question, but they've poured in, and I think I've been a victim of this as well. A lot of spammy phone calls. And if anyone thinks they've got something that they can say about that, you are welcome.
Okay,
Sally.
I can address part of it. So
Thank
if
you.
you're getting spam phone calls on your cell phone,
Yeah.
first thing you do is you block. You don't answer it. First of all, if our cell phones are really technologically advanced, that it tells you now it's a spam risk, right? When you get the phone call. So definitely first thing you do is you don't answer it. Then you can block the phone number. And that will last a couple of days, unfortunately, from your cell phone. But you should make sure you go and you put yourself on a do not call list, right? Go to donotcall.gov, put your phone numbers in there, and get yourself on there so that you don't get unsolicited robocalls.
Okay, so that's the robocall list where people are supposed to follow that law and not call you if you don't want it. And
yes,
then you got
within
the
30
spammy
days.
phone call. I was getting a lot of what sounded like Chinese language voicemails for the longest time. I think they're still continuing. What was that all about? Why would anyone even bother to do that? Is there some technological way to get data from my phone by making these phone calls?
I don't personally know about the different language one.
Yeah.
That one.
I don't specifically know about that either, but the same thing happened on my cell phone. I've been getting many of those calls, and I still do.
Yeah. It just hasn't come to an end. All right. And what about, I've got a question about how phone carriers claim to verify safe calls by putting a V on the caller ID in front of an incoming caller's number. But they've heard that scammers are also doing this to the spoofed numbers. So I guess they're trying to get around the around that verified or risk issue as well. The technology is a little bit faster than we can legislate and rule make, which is really unfortunate.
So one thing I can comment on is
Yeah.
that most common type of scams are perpetrated through robocalls.
Mm,
There is something like 2.4 billion robocalls sent out every month. So what I tell, okay, my groups when I'm out in the public is don't answer your phone.
yeah.
Whether it's your landline or through your cell phone, if it's a phone number that you do not recognize, don't answer it.
Yeah.
Let the answering machine get it. They will leave you a message. And believe me, your family members will understand if you have to call them back.
Yeah.
But once you pick up that phone and you answer, okay, it's fair game.
So the robocalls, I mean, if they're doing 2 billion robocalls and, 0.01% fall prey to this, so just answering the phone does something bad, or do you have to then engage in another way?
Well, it starts with you picking up the phone, and then basically that phone number is one, one confirmation that they're getting that somebody actually answered. Then it will transfer you to a live person.
Okay.
Who is, and usually it's somebody, from a foreign entity, foreign country making these calls.
Yeah.
And once they got you on there, unfortunately, seniors just are too nice.
Yeah.
They're too polite.
I generally, so I don't, I'm asking questions, I think, from a point of a lack of knowledge, because I generally just keep my phone on silent at all times. And so I'll miss calls, even calls that I want. But I miss a lot of those spammy calls too. So we had a question, and again, some of these questions have come in, and I feel bad if I don't ask them, but if they're not relevant to what your area of knowledge is, that's okay, but I want to give voice to some of these questions that are interesting. This one says, or asks, that it says that they've had at least 3 incidents where fake recruiters have contacted this person through Indeed, which is a reputable job search engine. How can this person protect himself or herself from these fake recruiters? And they state, I think, something that many people are going through, that many of us are job hunting and probably won't know the difference between a real recruiter and a scammer. I imagine a recruiter who gets a resume and gets some personally identifiable information off of that resume or other info could do something with it. No area of expertise there, but they've got to figure out how to check with Indeed or these sites to confirm whether it's a true one. All right, we've got another question, and I won't ask you guys to answer this one, but I do want to take note of the fact that the state of California has fallen for fraud in the past year, and I think most notably with the Employment Development Department, unemployment claims. Billions of dollars have been defrauded from the state of California in people filing fraudulent claims. And I know that EDD, the governor has hired a new leader for that department, and they're doing the best that they can, not only to make sure that they're not paying out the fraudulent claims, but one of the concerns that I and my colleagues had was that our efforts to stop the fraudulent claims also gummed up the works for people that were filing real claims that desperately needed unemployment benefits that they had earned through their work in their career to keep a roof over their head and food on the table for their families. And so I mentioned at the beginning of the town hall about how my staff has been working throughout the year to help process EDD claims and verifiable EDD claims. So I want to say thank you to people who have been so patient in getting those claims filled. I know it was really painful and frustrating. So this question that came in, and again, I'll answer this one because we don't have an EDD rep here with us. They're busy. The question was that they've or the point they're trying to make is that they've received a notice from EDD about an unemployment claim, but they've always been employed and have never filed for unemployment. So that's a problem. So if you have been a victim of EDD fraud, or you suspect that you would be a victim of EDD fraud, I would recommend that you call 1-800-229-6297. You can also submit a fraud report online at askedd.edd.ca.gov/ that is a mouthful, and we will post this. So again, it's askedd.edd.ca.gov/askedd/s/report fraud. I might reach out to EDD and ask them to get an easier website for reporting fraud. Unemployment agencies across the country have seen a significant increase in fraudulent claims during the COVID-19 pandemic, and EDD has partnered with private sector security firms like ID.me and Thomson Reuters to prevent fraud, but there are still criminals reaching out to people and impersonating EDD services as well. Remember, when EDD does call people, the phone line should show under the caller ID as ST of CA EDD, like State of California EDD, or the number 1-800-300-5616. However, the attackers have been known to spoof these numbers, so be sure to hang up if they ask for your mobile carrier or credit debit card information over the phone. EDD will never ask for your banking information. If you're not sure, you can always call my office. Please do, and my staff can help you determine if it's a legitimate contact from EDD. I've heard from many of you about just how difficult it is to reach EDD, and I'm just as frustrated as you are about their inability to do their job, but my staff is here to help. In fact, if you're having an issue with any state agency, my office can help and get the information that you need. Just call 707-576-2631. That's 707-576-2631, or 415-479-4920, 415-479-4920. So that was a mouthful, but I know that that's been in the news a lot, and also many members of our community have struggled with unemployment claims and are concerned, particularly if they've been exploited for someone else's EDD claims. We want to make sure that you're protected. We just have a different question. I'm not sure if we have the right resource here, but we'll research this one and post it. The question was, how can I check if a charity is real or fraudulent? Do we have any expertise in that space? Okay, we'll find out and we'll follow up. And you can also reach out to my office, and we can make sure that we can get some information about how to check about registered charities. We know there are websites like Charity Navigator that are helpful as well for people, but that's off the top of my head, and I want to make sure that we're able to get people specifics if they have any. So at this point in the program, we're almost coming up to an hour, and I just want to give each of you an opportunity to say a few words if there's something that you wanted to make sure that you left people with. Sally, you want to start again?
Sure. Well, I want to say thank everyone for either being here today or watching this video later on. Knowledge is power. So thank you for being here and learning more about how you can help yourself to protect yourself. So first thing, hang up the phone. You do not have to answer. If you do, you can hang up anytime. It's okay. You do not have to be polite, and do not engage with an unsolicited caller on that phone. And you should always try to remember this phrase. It's, I do not disclose personal information to unsolicited callers. And if you can't remember that, because it's hard for me to remember, you see, I have to look at my notes, write it down on a piece of paper, leave it next to your phone. It'll help you when you need to use that phrase. It might make you feel more safe to hang up that phone with that unsolicited caller. Remember, anyone calls your bank, Social Security, IRS, they don't call you, or Medicare, they don't call you and ask you to confirm your Social Security numbers. They don't ask you to confirm your Medicare number and ask you to make insurance payments over the phone. That right there should be an alert that should give you, a sign of pause, hang up that phone, and you call that organization back with the phone number that you have already on hand. That's one way you can do to protect yourself. Again, never feel pressured or intimidated to signing anything. And if afterwards you feel like you made a mistake and you're like, wait a minute, I'm not sure, your instinct is probably correct. Talk to somebody, talk to your family member, talk to a friend, a trusted person. Lastly, report fraud. Report it to us. We can connect you to the right organization. Report it to Kevin's CSLB, report it to Mark and his organization, because the only way to stop the fraud from increasing and getting bigger is reporting it. And so if you are a victim or if you suspect fraud, please report it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Kevin Duroway.
Yeah, Sally brought up a lot of good points there. Report. File a complaint with CSLB if you think you have a complaint with a contractor. Usually you have 4 years from the date of your construction project to file that with us. Also remember the down payment information that I mentioned, 10% or $1,000, whatever's less. Now, sometimes that payment information can be waived if it's an example of new construction, if it's a disaster area and it's new construction, meaning there's nothing to build upon. It's just complete new construction from the site of where the home stood. But then that's something, again, you can call CSLB and check with that to see, because you really want that 10% or $1,000 protection if possible. Call us at 1-800-321-CSLB. That's 2752. Try to remember, get 3 bids, 10% or $1,000, whatever's less, okay? Check workers' compensation insurance too. Also, I almost forgot, make sure it's on our website. Check the license, put in the license number. It'll show you if they are carrying workers' compensation insurance. Chances are they're gonna have workers if they're rebuilding part of your home after a disaster. So you're gonna wanna make sure they have that policy. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you, Kevin. 3 bids, money is your leverage.
Right.
Keep that. And then as far as Sally, I do not disclose information over the phone. I've got my take homes. All right, Mark Vanderskoff.
I would just urge people again to report, the way Sally and Kevin have also mentioned. Here in Marin, the local number for Adult Protective Services is 415-473-2774. They can do a confidential investigation and help you figure out what's going on. The other thing is, education is the key to prevention. If you're interested in booking the FAST team to come out to one of your venues, please, you can contact A.M. Reyes, that's A-M-R-E-Y-E-S, at marincounty.com, and we can set something up for you. Thank you. I was very honored to be here today.
Oh, Mark, I'm grateful that you're serving our community, just as I'm grateful that Kevin Duroway and Sally Kim Westlake are serving the whole state. We're very fortunate to have public servants like you looking out for all of us. So thank you for that. I want to follow up on the question about charities. So it was a great question. We have a philanthropic ethic in our community. We want to do good and help others do good. And so the Attorney General's office does have a website, and we'll put that in the comments as well. The website is www.oag.ca.gov/charities, OAG Office of the Attorney General. So oag.ca.gov/charities. So hopefully that is a resource that we can use to make sure that we're helping people do good and making sure that that money is going to the cause that we intended to. So again, I want to say thank you to Sally Kim Westlake, Kevin Duroway, and Mark Vanderskoff for joining our virtual town hall this afternoon. I think it was made clear that fraudulent activity is an ongoing issue that affects everyone around us, but we also have precautions that we learned today, and also some guardians we can reach out to like you to help us navigate making sure we do things that protect ourselves. And if for some reason we were to fall victim to some frauds or scams, that there are resources there to help us recover from it and protect others too. So today's virtual town hall will be posted on my website, along with links to resources available to residents on my legislative website, which is assembly.ca.gov/Levine. And please know that my office continues to be a resource during this time, or all the time really, but particularly now when people have a lot of great need. If you have other questions that weren't addressed today or need assistance with another issue, please don't hesitate to reach out and call us at 415-479-4920 or 707-576-2631. You can also email me at assemblymember.levine@assembly.ca.gov, or find us on Facebook, Twitter, or even Instagram. My staff set up an Instagram too, at ASM Mark Levine. I'm not doing TikTok yet, and I'm sure there's some other things out there, but we're Luddites, so we're only sticking to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you again to our panelists, and thank you everyone for joining us. Have a great day. Take care.